First and foremost, I'd like to thank the Speaker for allowing this bill to finally come to the floor for an up and down vote. There's been much support, and it's about time we got it to the floor so we can actually vote on this bill and discuss issues that have been brought up during debate. I especially want to thank the sponsor of the bill, who I think has done a tremendous job. If you notice, this is a C print. That means there's been some amendments made to it. That shows that the sponsor of the bill has listened to many of the concerns, that there have been concerns brought forward. He's listened, and he's sat with the people involved and made changes that were necessary, changes that are good, that make this a better bill. Now, first, I have to say this. I've been watching mixed martial arts for a long time. I've yet to see anyone thrown into a cage. I've seen adults enter the cage to participate in something they've trained for years and years, to get into it and do a profession that they chose. You know, these professionals have been doing this since they were young kids. And by the way, martial arts in itself, it does teach self-defense. It teaches discipline, which is why many karate classes and other martial arts have quite a few children in these classes. It teaches them the discipline that they need. So, you know, as I said, I've yet to see anybody thrown into a cage. They've willingly gone in to participate in a sport that they love and that they've been training for and to participate in for years. But the sponsor brought up some very good points, and that was protections for the professional fighters. This bill covers that with health insurance and other aspects. You know, again, I heard about all the terrible injuries and how brutal it is. Here's another interesting fact. Do you realize there are more serious injuries in competitive cheerleading each year than there are in mixed martial arts? That's because these are very well-trained professionals. They know what they're doing. You know, when you don't just end a bout in mixed martial arts with a knockout or someone beaten to a pulp, they have a thing you call tapping out. That's when you're submitted in maybe a rear naked chokehold or something like this, or some move like that, where the participants have an opportunity to say, I give, call uncle, you win, which is why the injuries are not as vast and as serious as they are in some other sports. But again, I get back to this bill in itself. What this bill also does is it puts protections in place for the amateur fighters as well, because right now, you've all probably seen the movie Fight Club. Well, you know, sometimes things like this are happening because it's forced underground. There are no regulations. I recently went to a fight. It's an amateur fight put on by New York Fight Exchange. And let me say, they did a tremendous job because they had ringside doctors, ambulances on hand. But you know what? They didn't have to, because right now those regulations do not exist. So there are fights going on right now where these fighters are not protected. And passing this bill will change that. It will give them the protections that they need. We talk about training facilities in schools. This bill tackles that issue as well. These are going to have to be licensed facilities. There will have to be precautions taken place in these schools and in these training facilities to make sure these fighters are protected. So again, I have to say, I commend the sponsor for taking all of these considerations into account, working on this bill and making it the best bill possible. You notice I also didn't even bring up yet the economic impact. This will have a tremendous economic impact on the state of New York. You know, there was a study done recently that revenue from holding just 2 fights, one in the Buffalo region, one in New York City, could raise as much as $23 million in tax revenue to the state. Recent revenue projections estimate annual revenue to the state of about $67 million. You see, when these events take place, these are big events. They bring fans from all over the world. And it's not just one night. These are usually a whole weekend. So the fans come in maybe on a Thursday or a Friday. They stay in hotels. They eat at restaurants. They go to local shops to buy souvenirs. Then they enjoy the fight over the weekend. Then they stay maybe an extra day and check out the wonderful things that we have throughout this great state. And they stay. And you know what? They might come back just for that. So the ancillary revenue that will be born onto the state from this is tremendous as well. So all in all, I'd have to say the time has come, And again, I commend the Speaker. I commend the sponsor of this bill. Did a tremendous job in putting together the best bill possible. It is time to take the vote. It's time to pass this. It's time to legalize professional mixed martial arts in the state of New York.